Welcome to Dress Like Your Co-Host Day here on Bet. We wanted to make sure you knew that was what we were doing today because we're not the type of idiots who just show up looking like each other. No. This was planned.
Of course, ankle meat and all.
Yes. I'm borrowing that from you. He's Tyler Fulghum. I'm Joe Fortenbaugh. Big show in store for you today. How to bet the Stanley Cup Playoffs. We're going to do that in just a little bit. NBA playoff picks, a few upsets that may surprise you, and sucker bets this week's installment. If there's anything we cover, or should I say don't cover, that you're interested in, check out the YouTube page, youtube.com/ESPN Sports Betting. We have a UFC Fight Night card coming up. We've got an ESPN top-ranked boxing card Saturday night. Lots of good stuff. You'll be able to find it there. We start with the good word.
Oh, get the pen out already.
Bring on the technology, and let's see if we can screw it up. Here's how it works. Read a statement, something sports-related because this is a sports show and a sports company, and then give me the first word that comes to mind. Here we go.
Okay.
Yankees pitcher Corey Kluber threw a no-hitter last night against the Texas Rangers. That means that the Rangers, the Indians, and the Mariners have now all been no-hit twice this season. That's ridiculous.
I hate to do this because it seems like we're almost on the other side, but right now we have a hitting pandemic in Major League Baseball. Averages as low as
Read the room.
I'm sorry. I said I'm sorry for this. I didn't want to have to do it. But it's a first word, and I think it's a good word to explain trying to hit a baseball in 2021 in the major leagues. MLB hitters, they need a vaccine of some sort. Go back to 1968, Major League Baseball started lowering the mound to institute more offense into the game. Maybe we'll see something happen. Maybe they'll move it back. Maybe they'll lower it again. Maybe they'll eliminate shifts. But some type of vaccine is coming in Major League Baseball to try and end this pandemic of pitching, dominating hitting, and making games kind of boring from a sense that you either see a home run, a strikeout, or a walk. There's not much action in between, and I think that is something that fans miss.
All right. Well done.
Sorry, I didn't want to.
Heavy way to start the show.
I didn't want to do it, I swear.
I am going to go with Pogs.
Like the old Pogs we used to play in.
You remember those?
Oh, yeah.
Remember when they were cool?
Schoolyard. Oh, yeah. Slammers. You had the Slammers. You had the Pogs. You had the big case that tracked you. You collected all of them in. Oh, yeah. Big time.
Have you noticed how they're not cool now?
I have noticed.
That's what no-hitters and home runs have become in baseball. Baseball found a way to take the two coolest things about its sport, home runs and no-hitters. Rare, fun, something we put A1, the first block out. We're going to talk about it. We're going to put it on the newspaper. It doesn't even matter. How many of you even know, watching right now, that Corey Kluber threw a no-hitter last night? It's not even that important anymore. Whatever baseball is doing, you are taking the cool things like Pogs and you are making them uncool. Exit velocities, launch angles, this new dead ball. It's nothing but strikeouts. Nothing but strikeouts and home runs. It's not cool. Baseball, you're going the way of Pogs. Keep the cool stuff. Remember that scene in Swingers where Mikey calls Nikki like 15 times in a row?
Yep.
Hi, this is Nikki, leave a message.
Yep.
Like, that's what baseball has become. You're just sweating the girl. Let it go. Give it some breathing room.
I do want to say I invested in Pogs in '94 thinking it would be...
Stop traffic.
I thinking it would be like, the NBA Top Shot craze, although that's kind of crashed as well.
Yes.
So, maybe just stick to the stock market like we have for the last, 100 and 200 years.
Just stick to Bitcoin. It's doing great. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, number 2. Dallas Mavericks star Luka Doncic is 4-1 to record a triple-double against the Clippers on Saturday in Game 1 of their Western Conference opening round series. In Encino Man?
No.
Great movie.
Great movie. Brendan Fraser, great movie. It's enticing. I'm not in love with it, but it's got my attention from across the bar. I see her over there at 4-1. Now, not maybe necessarily my type. If she was 6-1 or 7-1, I would walk right up there immediately and throw my cheesiest line at her. But it's enticing. It's got my attention. Maybe I take a few more shots and I get talked into approaching this bet a little later. Do not forget what Luka Doncic did to this team last year, pretty much by himself. He dragged this Clippers team to 6 games in last year's bubble pretty much all by himself. And he didn't record a lot of triple-doubles this year, as many as we thought he would. So that's why I think it's priced this way. But in the postseason, we know the minutes will go up, the usage will go up, and he'll have help around him from the likes of Tim Hardaway, from the likes of Kristaps Porzingis, and more. So it's enticing. I maybe just need another shot or two before I muster up the courage to go to the window at 4-1.
Or you get so drunk you forget to go to the window entirely.
Also has happened.
Which is also something that's out there in play.
Also has happened.
All right, hang with me on this one. This is going to go very deep. This is multi-layered, like the movie Inception. All right, here we go.
We're going Inception.
We're going to go to Inception. This is down in the world where only his wife is.
Okay, Gary.
Gary. As in Gary, Indiana. As in Gary, Indiana, where the area code is 219, which is the total for this game, which is low, which means you run from the idea of a triple-double happening. Now, if it's a Wizards-Pacers type game, 237.5, 241, things of that nature, yes, pace is furious. Opportunities are everywhere. Stats are high, right? That's how what Russell Westbrook, with that lack of defense,
lot of possession.
But that lots of possession pace has helped him out. This is 219. Two teams that have played pretty good defense this year. They both rank in the top 10 in points allowed. The Clippers have been an under team big time in the second half of the season. I have those notes for Daily Wager, which you can find ESPN 2 at 6 p.m. I didn't bring them here for some very bizarre reason. But Luka Doncic, 11 triple-doubles this year, only 2 over the last 34 Dallas games. Keep that in mind. Gary, Indiana, we got there. We got there.
I didn't know we were going to take that flight to Gary, but I guess it makes sense.
It was a weird morning for me.
Well,
Final one. At a price of 7-1, Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers has the second best odds to win next year's NFL MVP award behind Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes.
We call this respect, Brother Joe.
Yes, we do.
He has the second shortest odds behind Mahomes. Both of those guys we regard as maybe the two most talented quarterbacks in the National Football League. It's funny that the betting markets respect Aaron Rodgers properly. What's not funny for Rodgers is that his own front office in Green Bay does not respect him enough and his skills and abilities to believe that he can be the quarterback for the long term. Thus why they drafted Jordan Love without really getting his input on it. So the word is respect, because I find it ironic that the betting markets respect Aaron Rodgers when his team doesn't even really respect Aaron Rodgers the way it should.
That was well done. A lot of goofing off early, but very well done in that situation. I am going to use the word, everyone's worried it starts with an F. Kidding.
Like fuller or something.
A lot of ways that could go south. Fatigue, as in voter fatigue. Rodgers won the award last year. Very difficult to go back-to-back because the voters are looking for something new. Now, let me tell you something. Rodgers, season high, 48 touchdown passes. Career high 48 touchdown passes. Career high 70% completion rate, only 5 interceptions. How are you going to top that, bro? How are you going to top that this year? Plus, all the drama, some people are over it. They don't really want to hear about the complaining anymore. Really good competition for the award, and the drama factor again. I have to drive that home.
If he ends up in Denver, though, is it as simple to say whoever wins the AFC West gets the MVP between Rodgers and Mahomes?
I think there's a good argument there, and I also think that if he ends up in Denver, it now becomes a fresh story, and the voter fatigue element, everything I just said becomes completely irrelevant. Forget that you even heard it. All right, time to talk about the Stanley Cup Playoffs. Let's make some money. Arda O'Cal is the host of In the Crease on ESPN+, and he's kind enough to join Tyler and myself here on Bet right now. Arda, we appreciate the time. Thank you for coming on. Let's start with this. Montreal and Toronto are hockey royalty, yet the two clubs haven't met in the postseason since 1979. Vegas has the Leafs as a massive minus 345 favorite to win this series. Would you be willing to bet a little bit on the underdog Canadiens here?
First thing I want to say is that this show's a lot of fun, and hearing you guys talk, I thought of like 20 ways that I wanted to interject. Encino Man, NBA Top Shot, are you kidding me? You guys are amazing.
Wheeze the juice! Wheeze the juice!
Exactly. Would I bet the underdog in this series? Yes, and the only reason I'm saying this is because I am a long-suffering Toronto Maple Leafs fan. I know the heartbreak that this team is capable of. I also know that the pressure is on extremely high for the Toronto Maple Leafs to produce this year. There's never been a better year in, dare I say, decades, since maybe 2004, that we have seen a team that Toronto fans can conceptualize a long run in the Stanley Cup playoffs. And what happens? The best laid plans. You have a team like the Montreal Canadiens. This is the most bitter rivalry in sports, on the Mount Rushmore anyway. They haven't played in the postseason, like you said, since 1979. They almost played in the Stanley Cup Finals in '93. Thanks, Wayne Gretzky. Thanks, Terry Frazier. That's a story for another day. But here, I do believe that goaltending is the biggest issue for the Leafs. What will happen between the pipes? Will Jack Campbell get hot like we saw him break records in the regular season? Will Freddie Anderson get back to form that we saw him a few years ago? It's not the offense that's the question mark here. It's the defense and the goaltending in particular for the Leafs. And honestly, that is a big enough question mark that if the line was big enough for the Habs on an upset, you might want to consider it.
All right, well, let's look specifically at Game 1 between the Leafs and the Canadiens. Leafs, I'm sorry, for the game tonight. Yeah, they're the Leafs, your Leafs, minus 210 on the money line. Big favorites over the Canadiens. Carey Price, we were talking about goaltending. He's back in net for Montreal. I'm sorry, I'm talking to a Canadian. I got to say it properly. Montreal for the first time in a month, and he's one of the best in the business. How would you approach betting Game 1, given the circumstances with Price and his history, the long layoff, and your Leafs being such big favorites?
Yeah, Carey Price is an enigma. He's one of the best goaltenders that we've ever seen. But recently, we have seen a little bit of regression from Carey Price as well. He's not that elite level goaltender. We've seen similar statistics from the backup goaltender, Jake Allen, with the Montreal Canadiens than we've seen with Price this season. Now, whether it's injury, whether it's age, whatever it is, we're going to have to wait and see how Carey Price will perform in the postseason. Now, with that said, would I be surprised if the Canadiens took Game 1? No, I would not be surprised. And actually, if you were to ask me which one I would rather bet, the Habs winning the series or the Habs winning Game 1, I would take the latter, because I think it would be likely that the Leafs have a slow start. We saw it with the Edmonton Oilers coming out of the gates a little flat against the Winnipeg Jets, but I still think the Oilers win that series. That could very well happen here with the Leafs and Habs as well.
The Stanley Cup playoff train continues. Arda Ocal, host of In the Crease on ESPN Plus, joining Tyler Fulghum and myself, Joe Fortenbaugh, here on Bet. All right, let's focus on the local team right down the street. The Vegas Golden Knights are currently knotted at 1 in a very good opening round series with the Minnesota Wild. Vegas still has Vegas as the minus 170 favorite to win this series. What's the likelihood, in your opinion, of an upset here?
The Minnesota Wild have been playing very well. In particular, Ryan Hartman has been a fantastic player. All eyes will be on Kirill Kaprizov, of course, the Calder Trophy shoe-in the eyes of many. He is a dynamite player on the ice. And Minnesota definitely has some weapons, and Cam Talbot has been solid in net for Minnesota. However, it's the other guy on the other side of that 200-foot ice that I'm looking at, Marc-Andre Fleury. Game 2 could have slipped away from Vegas, but it was, I think, 17 shots by Minnesota in the first period, and Marc-Andre Fleury was solid. And just remember that first game, both goaltenders were riding a shutout going into overtime, and it was an errant puck off the skate of Martinez that caused the goal that beat Fleury finally for Minnesota to win that game. And VGK looked really good in the second and third period in Game 2. So I do believe that with Marc-Andre Fleury playing in that elite status, that Stanley Cup championship winning status that we have known him to be and do, Vegas could definitely get out of this series. So I would answer your question directly. A little less likely than the Habs beating the Leafs, I would say Vegas is in good shape here.
All right, Arda, let's stay out west. The Colorado Avalanche, the best team during the regular season. They've looked awesome through 2 games at home against my St. Louis Blues. You know, they've done a great job, the Blues, keeping Nathan MacKinnon in check. He's only scored 5 goals in 2 games. Big reason why the Avs are plus 130 to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals. Favorites ever since these odds have been released. Is there anyone in this field in the entire postseason you think can knock off the Avs, or who would be the toughest test should Colorado meet them?
Tyler, you've seen a Stanley Cup in your lifetime. What's that like?
It was beautiful. It took a long time. It was beautiful, though. It was a beautiful. And you know what? I have equity now, so I can't even be mad if they get swept out of this postseason by the Avs.
I will say that the Colorado Avalanche, they are as advertised. They are the team. Them and Vegas were really the two teams that people were talking about meeting in the West, getting out of the West. But honestly, I'm looking at the stars. I'm looking at Nathan MacKinnon. I'm looking at Mikko Rantanen. I'm looking at Gabriel Landeskog, and they are the top 3 of 4 atop the playoff standings. And honestly, you would expect other names in there as well, like Connor McDavid and soon to be Austin Matthews once that series begins. But right now, it is dominated by the Colorado Avalanche. They have played terrific. They have had sound victories in their series against St. Louis so far. And you could see, if you were to pick one series right now that would be an outright sweep in the first round, you'd probably look at the Colorado Avalanche. So which team am I looking at to contend against them? Vegas is, see, if these two teams were in different conferences and if we were in different situations, a lot of people would have selected those two to meet in the Stanley Cup Finals. But we're going to get that series very likely sooner than later.
Okay, behind the Avs are 4 Eastern Conference teams who have the next best odds to reach the Cup final. All right, there won't be an Eastern Conference champion this year with the playoff format that's been realigned due to the pandemic and everything else. But that being said, who among the traditional Eastern Conference teams do you like to reach the final?
I'm looking at those odds on screen, and I absolutely love the Boston Bruins at plus 350. I love that because I do believe that the Bruins have a really, really good chance of making the Stanley Cup final. I think one name we should all be looking at on that team is Taylor Hall. I covered the New Jersey Devils extensively when Taylor Hall literally dragged the Devils' carcass to the Stanley Cup playoffs in 2018. He was the reason. He won the Hart Trophy, the MVP that year. He was literally the singular focused reason why the Devils made the postseason. And I see that same fire from him on the Bruins since he got traded from the Buffalo Sabres to Boston. The difference is he doesn't have the same spotlight on him. The Bruins already have the best line in hockey in Pasternak, Marchand. That line is absolutely wonderful, and he's playing with Krejci on the second line and Bergeron, I should say, on the first line there. Taylor Hall doesn't have the same spotlight that he has had on other teams. He can fly under the radar and have magnificent goals like he did in the last game. It was like, that's the all-star that people remember. And if he continues that pace, I would even say if the Bruins make the Stanley Cup final and he plays at this pace and contributes, he's got 2 goals in 3 games right now, you could even put him into the Conn Smythe conversation at that time.
I'm glad you mentioned the Conn Smythe and the aforementioned Avalanche we were discussing as Cup favorites. One of their superstars, Nathan MacKinnon, who again has been held to a scant 5 goals in just 2 games against my St. Louis Blues. He is the favorite to win the Conn Smythe right now at 5-1. Is there anyone else you think can challenge MacKinnon once the cup is lifted for the Conn Smythe Trophy?
So I love picking the hipster picks. Like, I'm definitely the guy that's like, I'm not going to go favorite on the Conn Smythe Trophy. Give me the grinders. Like, I love the years when the opposing goaltender on the losing team wins the Conn Smythe Trophy, like J.S. Jaguar and Ron Hextall when they won, even though their team didn't win because they had such fantastic performances, right? So now what I'm going to say is with the Colorado Avalanche, I would even sprinkle or consider sprinkling some money on Mikko Rantanen, who is at the top of the table. Players like that, when they far exceed your expectations, especially when their team makes the Stanley Cup final, they're going to get a lot of Conn Smythe consideration, especially if the star players aren't performing to what you believe to be their ceiling. And that does happen sometimes. We just saw it with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in Game 1. They were left off the score sheet, which rarely happened in the regular season. And so look at those kind of players. And again, I'll go back to Boston. Taylor Hall is a perfect example of that. Yes, you have stars like Marchand and Bergeron and Pasternak and even Krejci on his line, but Taylor Hall is playing so well that he could be in that conversation and might even have a very high line. If you look at it, say, in a week from now, it might continue to be the case. So I would look for players like that.
Check him out on In the Crease on ESPN+. Arda Ocal, kind enough to join us here on Bet. Arda, that was awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
What the world doesn't know is the Puck Daddy was going to join us. He was supposed to be our starting netminder today.
He was.
Emergency situation. We call him the backup, and Arda stopped every single shot that was thrown his way, spitting wooden nickels everywhere. Pitched a shutout.
Puck Patty and some elaborate 2-hour taxi ride out to Nassau Coliseum for the Islanders game. You just got Wally pipped, pal.
You just got
Wally pipped.
Wow.
We'll see you on Daily Wager. All right. I'm not going to lie. It's not pretty. It's time for a little NBA play-in pick'em, to be followed by NBA play-off pick'em. Play-in pick'em has been brutal. Yesterday, a combined 1-3. I went 1-1. You went 0-2. We are now each 2-4 on the week, 4-8.
Well, here is your
4-8. Oh, thank you,
poker
sir.
chip for that under in the Grizzlies and Spurs.
Yes, such success yesterday. So much between the two of us. All right, so here's
Go
where we're at.
spend it.
We're 4-8 this week. We're looking at our first losing week in 3 weeks. We've been solid. We have a chance between these games and the next games, but we got to be hot.
Yeah,
So you ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. First game out, it's the Washington Wizards, laying 3.5, total of 237.5, as they will host the Indiana Pacers tonight.
I got a player prop.
That's what we're doing, too. I have to remind the people, yesterday we both took the over in this game, so we're giving you player props today.
Since we think it's going to be a high-scoring game, over prop that I have is Domantas Sabonis over 14.5 rebounds.
Your boy.
That's a big number.
Huge number.
For my boy. However,
Huge.
He's averaging 18.5 in his last 2 games, had 21 in the matchup against the Charlotte Hornets in just 32 minutes. And keep in mind with Washington, not only their pace, their best rebounder is a 6'4" point guard. So Sabonis should be able to dominate the glass like he has pretty much all of the month of May. I'm going to go over 14.5. It's a big number, but Sabonis has been delivering monster rebounding stat lines in the month of May.
I will be rooting for you because we need to get back.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for you
Yeah,
as hard as I'm rooting for
I'm sure
myself.
you are.
Maybe 1% less just because I am selfish. All right, here we go. Mine is going to be one I used earlier this week. It's one of the few winners I've had. Russell Westbrook over 1.5 steals. Little juicy, sitting at -135. But a few reasons here to like this play. Career during the regular season, 1.7 steals per game. Career during the playoffs, 1.8 steals per game. The minutes are going to go up as well. This is do or die. So Russ could be on the court for 40-plus minutes tonight in a fast-paced game with a high total, lots of possessions, lots of people flying up and down the court, lots of opportunities. Remember something, the Pacers are 14th in turnovers this year. It's not like they've been very good. They're league average. The opportunities will be there. Russell Westbrook over 1.5 steals tonight. Let's go to Friday night showdown, the final of the play-in games. It's the Golden State Warriors. They're laying 3.5 points, total of 221 against the Memphis Grizzlies.
It's going to sound very similar. A big Eastern Bloc European center grabbing more than 14.5 rebounds. This time it's going to be Jonas Valanciunas. Over 14.5 boards for the Grizzlies. Taylor Jenkins is finally playing Valanciunas starter minutes. For much of his career there and back in Toronto, he tapped out at 28, 29, 30 minutes. Now 35, 36, 37, a full 12-minute rotation in the first quarter. He has 15 or more rebounds in 7 of his last 10 games because of the increased playing time. A massive size advantage over Golden State and Draymond Green. And last time he played this team, 4 days ago, 35 minutes and 16 rebounds. So I'll go over here in a do or die for the Grizz.
I like it. We talked about Anthony Davis going over 9.5 rebounds yesterday. He got moved to the 5 late in the game. He got over by a few rebounds. Excellent handicapping there. I'm not going to worry about a prop or a total. I'm going right for the side, and I'm playing the Golden State Warriors. These two just got together last Sunday in a game where the Warriors were 3-point favorites and then won by 12 points. So now they're only 3.5-point favorites. I think it should be closer to 5. Here's why. We saw the Lakers game last night. The Warriors pushed them to the brink. Many would say they should have won that game. The Lakers are very, very good. They were healthy. They had all their stars on the floor. On the flip side, you have the Grizzlies playing a terrible Spurs team that had lost 10 of 12. They win the game by 4 with San Antonio shooting 35% from the floor. You got to blow them out in that situation, and they couldn't. And we talked about this yesterday on Daily Wager, the return of Jaren Jackson Jr. He's only been back for 12 games. They're averaging 106 points per game in those games. In every other game, they're averaging 114 points per game. The chemistry is an issue right now. The Warriors have the veteran leadership. The Warriors get the job done. That is the conclusion of NBA Play-In Pick'em. Now it's time for a little NBA Play-Off Pick 'em.
Golly.
This is a very different segment compared to what you just heard.
And a massive, a new look graphic as well behind us.
I know.
I mean, it's beautiful.
Just brace yourselves. All right, first game is Saturday. Okay, not tonight and not Friday. Saturday. It's the Denver Nuggets. They're laying 1, total of 227, hosting the Portland Trail Blazers. We're going to go in an interesting order here. We're going to take the games that have the tightest spreads and work our way to the bigger spreads.
Okay. I have a player prop in this tight spread. My guy,
knew you would.
Michael Porter Jr. over 23.5 points. I want to attack the Blazers defense because it's predictable, the Blazers defense. They're 29th in the NBA during the regular season in defensive rating. Only the Kings were worse. And we know Denver's going to score points. It's going to come, with Jamal Murray out, from Jokic and Porter. And I think Porter has the slightly easier micro matchup, because Yusuf Nurkic is a big body who can make things a little more difficult for Jokic than any perimeter defender can make for Michael Porter Jr., who is basically proving to be a Kevin Durant level effortless scorer in the NBA. Guy shoots 45% from downtown, 56% from the field, and 80% from the line. I'll go over 23.5 because they're going to need points, and he can score against this defense.
All right. I'm taking the Blazers plus the point. This is the biggest red flag line on the board for the opening round for me. Now, more things can develop in the opening round, but I'm trying to figure this one out. So, Denver's the 3 seed. They're at home. They won 5 more games than the Blazers did during the regular season, and they also won the season series 2-1. Portland has a terrible defense, and it opens 1. I find that a little bit suspicious. Maybe it has to do with the fact that Portland is red hot. 10-2 straight up, 9-3 against the spread over their last 12 games. Playoffs equal Dame time. That's how it's going to be. And with the injury to Jamal Murray, I don't know if Denver's guards can hang with the Blazer guards in this one. I'm going to give the Blazers the edge in game 1. I think the line's a huge red flag.
Hawks and Knicks.
Game number 2, we jump to Sunday.
This one's
Hawks
good.
and Knicks. Knicks -1, total of 215. What are you going to do?
I can't believe the Hawks are favored in this series, on the series price. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. I am going to play the team total for the Hawks under 107.5. Why? Because that was a very profitable bet for any opponent that the New York Knicks were facing all season long. 4th in the NBA in defensive rating, last in the NBA in pace. They play slow and they play dominant defense. I'm going to play them. Trae Young is going to have a difficult matchup. Everyone's going to have a difficult matchup on the Atlanta side. I see this as a low-scoring game. I think the Knicks win it and the series.
I'm taking the Knicks. I'm laying the point, and I've got no problem admitting whatsoever that this is 100% based on emotion. Maybe not 100% because I'm going to give you some analytics, but emotion is a big part of this. The New York Knicks are going to play playoff basketball at the Garden for the first time since the spring of 2013. It's been 8 years. Knicks red hot, 16-4 down the stretch. Here's the key. I think this series goes 7. I think it's the best series of the opening round. Atlanta, 25-11 at home, 16-20 on the road. Not a great road team this year. The week off for the Knicks with the way they play defense, 40 plus minutes a night. And Derrick Rose, that veteran leadership's going to be huge here. Knicks -1. Game number 3, we get in our time machines. We go back to Saturday. The Clippers are laying 5, total of 219. They're going to host the Dallas Mavericks.
I'll take the 5 points in my pocket with the Mavericks. Luka Doncic again. Last year, this matchup saw the Mavericks push the Clippers to the brink in 6 games, but the Mavericks were woefully undermanned. And no team in the NBA had a larger positive differential between their first half net rating and their second half net rating than the Dallas Mavericks. Why? They were dealing with injuries and COVID issues all of the first half of the season. They finally got healthy and looked like the Mavericks team we'd see. 5 points. I'm not saying they win this game or this series, but 5 is too much for Luka the Don. I'll put him in my pocket and hope he has a big game.
Under 219. These are two under teams. The Clippers have seen 3 overs in their last 16 games. They're ratcheting up that defense. Dallas played 38-34 to the under this year. 38-34 for all the scoring they do. They played better defense as the season went on. The market didn't necessarily catch up to them. Both teams are 26th or slower in pace. The Clippers are 8th in defensive rating. Both teams are top 10 in points allowed, under 219. Final game for the Pick'em segment. Saturday, the Bucks are laying 5, total of 227 against the Heat.
Joe, you may recall last year in the postseason, I hammered this, and it won every single time. Giannis under his player point prop against the Miami Heat. Bam Adebayo is the most capably equipped player in the association to defend Giannis, who averaged less than 17 points per game against this team this year and less than 22 points per game against him in the postseason last year, under 29.5 until that keeps coming down.
Give me the Heat. Spoelstra is the better coach than Budenholzer, and here you go. With Jimmy Butler on the floor this year, 33-19. Without Jimmy Butler, 7-13. Butler's going to play. I like the Heat plus the points. Don't be surprised if they win the game outright. Final segment of the week. It's called Sucker Bet. We're going to try to steer you off of what could be a popular bet and on to a winner. What do you got for the people?
I don't know, because I think you might be a sucker based on what you said about Game 1. Portland Trailblazers laying 125 on the series price. Denver's the better team. Portland can't defend. They have the league's MVP and Kevin Durant 2.0. I don't see Portland stopping Denver from scoring. I don't see Portland winning this series.
Saturday night, ESPN, completely free. It's Josh Taylor versus Jose Ramirez. Taylor's the favorite. Take Ramirez. This fight should be pick'em. He's plus 185. He's going to have the crowd. He's got the experience edge. That's the guy you want. Jose Ramirez plus 185. He's Tyler Fulghum. I'm Joe Fortenbaugh. This is Bet. Have a great weekend. I'm going to open this up and just eat it.